Commander Veltar was enjoying his morning tea when the alarm started screaming. His forearms dropped the delicate cup, watching it shatter on the metal floor of his command center. The insect-like officer had served in the Zephyrian Navy for 30 years, and he had never heard alarms like these. "What is happening?" He clicked in his native tongue, his antenna twitching with worry. Officer Kleeks rushed over, her green shell gleaming under the bright lights. "Sir, we are receiving a signal that makes no sense. It is coming through every channel at once, even our most secret military frequencies." Veltar felt his blood chill. The Zephyrian communication systems were the best in the galaxy. They had defenses that could stop any known species from breaking through. Yet someone had just walked through their security like it was made of paper. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life. Static filled the air, then cleared to show simple text scrolling across the display. The words were in a language the computer did not recognize, but the universal translator worked overtime to make sense of it. Emergency broadcast. Human Dreadnought. "Incoming, impact is inevitable," the message repeated over and over. Simple words, but they made Veltar's skin crawl. He had never heard of humans before. In all his years of studying alien species, this name meant nothing to him. "Computer, search all databases for species called humans," he commanded. The response came back instantly. No match found in any galactic database. Veltar stared at the screen. The Galactic Council kept records of over 40,000 different species. How could any intelligent life form not be in their files? "Where is this signal coming from?" he asked. Officer Kleeks worked frantically at her station. "Sir, the signal originates from Sector 7 Alpha 9. That is the dead zone near the small yellow star." Veltar knew that area. The Galactic Council had marked it as empty space years ago. Nothing lived there except some primitive planets that had never developed space travel. Yet now something from that forgotten corner of space was speaking to them with technology that should not exist. Within an hour, representatives from the major galactic powers were arguing in Veltar's command room. The ethereals looked like living crystals, their bodies catching and reflecting light as they spoke. The depth swimmers wore their water suits, gurgling their words through breathing apparatus. The luminals appeared as bright energy beings, their forms shifting and dancing in the air. "This cannot be possible," declared High Crystal Velthara of the ethereals. "Our defenses have protected us for 1,000 years. No primitive species could break through them." Admiral Depthsong of the Ocean Dwellers bubbled his agreement. "Our technology comes from civilizations that are millions of years old. These humans should not even know we exist." But Commander Brightflame of the Luminals pulsed with worry. "Perhaps that is exactly why they succeeded. We defend against known threats. This signal uses methods we never thought to guard against." Veltar studied the data streaming across his screens. The signal was crude in many ways. It used basic radio frequencies that most species had abandoned long ago. Yet somehow it cut through their advanced systems like a hot knife through ice. "Look at this," Officer Kleeks announced, her voice shaking. "The signal is not just reaching us. Every monitoring station in 12 sectors is receiving the same message, all at exactly the same time." The room fell silent. Even with faster-than-light communication, sending a message to 12 different sectors simultaneously required technology that only the most advanced species possessed. Yet the signal itself looked like something a species that had just learned to use radio might send. "There is something else," Kleeks continued. "Our deep space sensors are detecting movement in hyperspace. Something large is coming this way." Admiral Depthsong leaned forward in his water suit. "How large?" "Larger than anything we have on record, sir. The mass readings are impossible. Nothing that big should be able to move through hyperspace without tearing itself apart." High Crystal Velthara's form flickered with anxiety. "We need more information. Send our fastest scouts to investigate the source of this signal." "Already done," Veltar replied. "But they will not reach the area for several days. Whatever is coming will arrive long before our scouts do." As if summoned by his words, new alarms began to sound. This time the alerts came from the Outer Rim monitoring stations. One by one, their signals went dark. Not destroyed, simply gone, as if they had never existed at all. "What is happening to our stations?" demanded Commander Brightflame. "Officer," Clicks worked furiously at her controls. "Sir, we are losing contact with Station Alpha 7, now Station Beta 3, now Station Gamma 12. They are all going silent in sequence, forming a line pointing directly toward us." Veltar felt ice in his veins. Something was cutting a path through their defenses, moving faster than their sensors could track. The monitoring stations were heavily armed and shielded. Whatever was destroying them possessed power beyond their understanding. "The last transmission from Station Alpha 7, Clicks announced, her voice barely above a whisper. The main screen showed static, then cleared to reveal the same message they had been receiving all day. "Emergency broadcast, human Dreadnought incoming. Impact is inevitable." But this time, there was something new. At the bottom of the message, numbers counted down. 47, 23, 16. 47, 23, 15. 47, 23, 14. "A countdown," breathed High Crystal Velthara. But counting down to what? Admiral Depthsong's water suit bubbled with nervous energy. "Impact is inevitable," they said. "Impact with what?" Before anyone could answer, the communications officer at the far end of the room called out in panic. "Sirs, we are receiving reports from merchant vessels throughout the sector. They describe encounters with a ship unlike anything in our databases." "Show us," Veltar ordered. The screen filled with shaky video footage from a cargo hauler. The image quality was poor, but it showed something that made everyone in the room gasp. A massive ship moved through space, but it looked wrong. Parts of it seemed familiar. Pieces of Zephyrian hull plating, ethereal crystal arrays, depth swimmer propulsion units, but all welded together in ways that should not work. "It is built from scraps," whispered Officer Clicks, "like someone took pieces from different species and stuck them together." But as they watched, the impossible ship moved with deadly grace. Its mismatched weapons fired with perfect accuracy. Its patchwork shields glowed with power that exceeded the original designs. Somehow, the humans had taken obsolete technology and made it better than new. "The engineering makes no sense," muttered High Crystal Velthara. "Those components are not compatible. The power systems should overload. The structural stress should tear the ship apart." Yet the ship on the screen moved like a predator, efficient and terrifying. Admiral Depthsong studied the tactical data flowing across the displays. "Look at the engagement patterns. They do not fight like any known species. No formation flying. No standard attack vectors. They adapt and change tactics every few seconds." Commander Brightflame pulsed brighter with each new report. 17 cargo ships disabled or destroyed. 3 patrol vessels missing. And they are all reporting the same thing. The human ship harvests materials from every encounter. "Harvests?" Veltar asked. "They take specific components. Hull plating, weapon systems, shield generators. Always the most advanced pieces available." The truth hit Veltar like a physical blow. They are building something. The signal, the attacks, the harvesting, it is all preparation for something bigger. The countdown on the screen continued its relentless march towards zero. 46 hours, 22 minutes, and falling. Whatever the humans were planning, time was running out. And deep in his hearts, Veltar knew that when that countdown reached zero, nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. 3 days had passed since the first emergency broadcast, and Admiral Kessera wished she had never volunteered for this mission. The crystalline being floated in the command center of her flagship, her body flickering between different colors, as stress affected her natural luminescence. Around her, the Joint Task Force represented the greatest military power the galaxy had ever assembled. Zephyrian battlecruisers hung in formation with ethereal crystal ships. Depth swimmer submarines moved through space as easily as through water, while luminal energy vessels danced between them like living stars. Yet for all their power, Kessera felt afraid. "Report from the investigation team," announced her communications officer, a young ethereal whose crystal form sparkled with nervous energy. The main screen showed the wreckage of what had once been Deep Space Station Alpha 7. Except there was no wreckage. Where a massive military installation had stood guard for over 200 years, now only empty space remained. "The station is completely gone," reported Commander Fluxara, leading the investigation team. "But not destroyed in any conventional sense. We found no debris, no energy signatures from explosions, no trace of combat damage." Admiral Kesra studied the empty space where the station should have been. "Then where did it go?" "That is the mystery, Admiral. Our analysis suggests the station was disassembled at the molecular level. Every piece of metal, every circuit, every power cell was carefully taken apart and removed. The precision required is beyond our current technology." The news sent a chill through the command center. Military installations were designed to self-destruct rather than fall into enemy hands. Yet somehow the humans had taken apart an entire space station without triggering any of its defensive systems. "The same pattern repeats at every missing station," Commander Fluxara continued. "Perfect disassembly, complete material recovery, and no signs of struggle. Whatever the humans are using, it works faster than our crews could even send a distress call." Admiral Kesra turned to her tactical officer, a battle-scarred Zephyrian named Thekvar. "What is your assessment, Commander?" Thekvar's antenna twitched as he studied the data. "Admiral, this suggests technology we cannot understand. To disassemble a military station that quickly, they would need tools that can manipulate matter at the atomic level. Such technology should take millions of years to develop." "Yet they are using it now," Kesra replied grimly. New alerts flashed across the tactical display. A merchant convoy had sent out a distress call before going silent. The location was only 6 hours away at maximum speed. "Set course for the convoy's last position," Kesra ordered. "All ships, battle stations. We will finally meet these humans face to face." The joint task force moved through hyperspace like avenging angels. 200 of the galaxy's finest warships, carrying enough firepower to crack planets. Surely no single vessel, no matter how strange, could stand against such force. They dropped back into normal space near a small asteroid field where the convoy had been traveling. What they found defied every expectation. The merchant ships hung in space completely intact but dark and lifeless. No damage, no signs of battle. They looked like toys that someone had simply turned off. "Scanning the convoy vessels," reported the sensor officer. "Admiral, this is impossible. The ships are empty." "Empty of crew?" Kesra asked. "Empty of everything. No crew, no cargo, no equipment, no life support systems. The hulls remain, but everything else has been removed with surgical precision." As the task force spread out to investigate, Kesra noticed something else. The asteroid field was wrong. The rocks were too regular, too organized. They were arranged in patterns that hurt to look at, geometric shapes that seemed to twist space around them. "Admiral," called out Commander Thekvar, his voice tight with fear. "The asteroids are not natural. They are the missing materials from the space stations and convoy ships. Somehow the humans have restructured the matter into this." The asteroid field pulsed with strange energy. Each rock glowed with internal light, connected to its neighbors by streams of force that their sensors could not identify. Together they formed something that might have been a sculpture, or a machine, or perhaps both. "Movement detected," shouted the sensor officer. Something big, approaching from behind the largest asteroid. The human vessel emerged from hiding like a predator revealing itself to prey. Up close, it looked even more impossible than the recordings had suggested. Hull, sections from dozens of different species were welded together in patterns that made no engineering sense. Weapon arrays that should have been incompatible worked together in perfect harmony. Shield generators from various races created overlapping fields that made the ship shimmer like a mirage. "Open fire," Admiral Kesra commanded. 200 warships. Unleash their fury at once. Energy beams, particle weapons, kinetic projectiles, and exotic matter disruptors filled space with deadly light. Enough firepower to sterilize a solar system focused on one target. The human ship did not dodge. Instead, its impossible shields absorbed every shot, growing brighter and stronger with each impact. The patchwork armor plating actually seemed to heal itself, damaged sections flowing back together like living metal. Then the humans fired back. Their weapons made no sense. Energy beams that curved around their own ship's defenses to strike from impossible angles. Projectiles that split into smaller versions of themselves, each somehow more powerful than the original. Weapon systems that seemed to violate basics, physics by creating more energy than they consumed. Shields failing on the depth song, reported the communications officer. The luminous Pride is taking heavy damage. Crystal formations on the ethereal ships are cracking. Admiral Kesra watched, in horror as her mighty fleet was torn apart by a single enemy vessel. Worse, the human ship was adapting to their attacks in real time. Every weapon they fired became less effective as the enemy learned to counter it. They are not just fighting us, realized Commander Tekvar. They are studying us, learning from every shot we fire. The human vessel moved through their formations like a surgeon's scalpel, precise and deadly. It did not destroy ships when disabling them would suffice. When forced to defend itself, it targeted specific systems rather than attempting wholesale destruction, almost as if it wanted to preserve the materials for later use. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the human vessel, announced the communications officer. Put it through, Kesra ordered, though part of her dreaded what she might hear. The voice that emerged from the speakers was calm, professional, and terrifyingly human. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the human vessel Determination. You are interfering with critical operations. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Kesra found her voice. Captain Rodriguez, I am Admiral Kesra of the Galactic Joint Defense Force. You are attacking innocent civilians and destroying military installations. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to galactic law. A sound came through the speakers that their translators identified as laughter, though it contained no humor. Admiral, you have no idea what is at stake here. We are not your enemy, but we will not let anyone stop us from completing our mission no matter the cost. What mission? Kesra demanded. What are you trying to accomplish? The response chilled her to her crystalline core. We are preparing to save the galaxy, Admiral, even if the galaxy does not want to be saved. Before Kesra could reply, space around the human ship began to twist and fold. The vessel vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind only the organized asteroid field and the disabled ships of two fleets. In the aftermath, as rescue ships arrived to collect survivors, Admiral Kesra stared at the strange formations the humans had left behind. The asteroids continued to pulse with energy, their patterns shifting and changing as if alive. Analysis complete on the asteroid formations, reported Commander Fluxara. Admiral, these are not random sculptures. They are some kind of manufacturing facility. The matter from the space stations and merchant ships has been converted into components we cannot identify. Components for what? Kesra asked, though she feared the answer. Unknown. But based on the energy signatures, they appear to be parts for something much larger, something that will require far more raw materials than they have collected so far. Admiral Kesra understood the implication. The attacks, the material harvesting, the impossible technology. It was all preparation for something bigger. The humans were building something that required the combined resources of multiple species and technologies. The countdown in the original broadcast now showed less than 44 hours remaining. Whatever the humans were preparing, time was running short. And deep in her crystalline heart, Admiral Kesra realized that stopping them might not be the real problem. The real problem might be what would happen if they succeeded. Ambassador Thaisara had negotiated peace treaties between species that had been at war for centuries. The tall, elegant diplomat had ended conflicts that had raged for millennia with nothing more than carefully chosen words. Her silver skin reflected light and patterns that conveyed meaning beyond simple language, and her 6 arms could gesture in combinations that spoke volumes to those who understood diplomatic protocol. But as she stood in the Grand Council chamber, of the diplomatic vessel Harmony's voice, watching the countdown timer tick below 36 hours, she felt more nervous than she had in her entire career. Are you certain this is wise, Ambassador? Asked her aide, a young Zephyrian named Kliktar. The humans have shown no respect for galactic law. They may not honor diplomatic immunity. Thaisara arranged her formal robes with practiced grace. Clicktar, in 3 centuries of diplomatic service, I have learned one important truth. Every species believes their actions are justified. Even the most aggressive races can be reasoned with if you understand what drives them. But what if you are wrong about the humans? Then we will discover what they truly want, she replied calmly. And knowledge, even terrible knowledge, is better than ignorance. The ambassador had broadcast her request for parley on every frequency known to galactic science. The response had come within minutes, transmitted on the same primitive radio. Waves the humans seemed to prefer. Parley accepted. Prepare for boarding. Now, as alarms sounded throughout the diplomatic vessel, Thaisara watched something impossible happen. The human ship appeared on their sensors, approaching at a leisurely pace. But instead of docking or requesting transport, it did something that made the ship's engineers panic. "Ambassador," called out Captain Velnara from the bridge. "The human vessel is not slowing down. They are on a collision course." Thaisara felt her heart skip a beat but maintained her composure. "Raise shields and prepare for impact." "Shields are up, but..." The captain's voice trailed off in confusion. "Ambassador, the human ship is passing through our hull. Our shields are not stopping them, but they are also not damaging us. It is as if they exist in a different dimension." Through the viewing ports, Thaisara could see the human vessel's strange hull passing through the walls of their ship like a ghost walking through solid matter. The sight should have been terrifying, but instead it filled her with professional curiosity. Whatever technology allowed this was beyond anything in her experience. The human ship materialized fully inside their largest cargo bay, somehow occupying the same space as their own equipment without displacing anything. The laws of physics suggested this was impossible, yet here it stood, real and solid. "The human delegation is disembarking," reported the security chief. 3 individuals approaching the council chamber. Thaisara had prepared for this moment by studying every scrap of information they had gathered about humanity. The species appeared to be bipedal mammals, roughly similar in size to Zephyrians, but with fewer limbs. They breathed oxygen, consumed organic matter, and showed signs of tool use advanced enough for interstellar travel. Nothing in the data had prepared her for the reality. The council chamber doors opened, and 3 humans walked inside. They moved with casual confidence, as if visiting the most powerful diplomatic station in the galaxy was no different from walking into their own home. Their leader, a woman with dark hair and calm eyes, wore what appeared to be a military uniform covered in patches and modifications. Behind her walked 2 others, a man whose arms were replaced with mechanical prosthetics that hummed with energy, and a woman whose left eye glowed with artificial light. All 3 carried devices that their sensors could not identify, though the energy readings suggested weapons more powerful than anything in their security arsenal. "Ambassador Thaisara," said the lead human, her voice carrying through the translation systems with perfect clarity. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." Thaisara gestured with all 6 arms in the traditional greeting of welcome. "Captain Rodriguez, I am honored to meet you. Please be seated, and let us discuss how we might resolve the current situation peacefully." Captain Rodriguez remained, standing, her hands clasped behind her back in a military posture. "Ambassador, I appreciate your diplomatic intentions, but we do not have time for lengthy negotiations. My species requires the immediate evacuation of our homeworld. We need temporary refuge for approximately 8 billion individuals while we implement our solution." The request was so simple, so reasonable, that Thaisara blinked in surprise. "Captain, the Galactic Council has protocols for refugee assistance. If your people are in danger, we can certainly discuss relocation options. May I ask what threatens your homeworld?" "Stellar collapse leading to supernova," Rodriguez replied matter-of-factly. "Our sun will explode in approximately 34 hours." Thaisara felt confusion wash over her. The galactic database contained detailed astronomical surveys of the human solar system. Their star was stable, middle-aged, with billions of years of life remaining. "Captain, our scientists have Examined your star. It shows no signs of instability. Perhaps there has been some mistake in your calculations. Captain Rodriguez exchanged glances with her companions. The man with mechanical arms stepped forward and activated a device that projected a holographic display into the air above the council table. These are real-time readings from our solar monitoring stations, he said in a voice that buzzed with electronic overtones. As you can see, our star's fusion rate has increased by 400% over the past 18 months. Core temperature is rising exponentially. Magnetic field fluctuations indicate imminent collapse. Thaisara studied the data, her diplomatic training allowing her to hide her growing alarm. The readings were impossible. No natural process could cause such rapid stellar changes. Yet the data appeared accurate and internally consistent. How is this possible? She asked carefully. The woman with the glowing eye smiled, and the expression was not pleasant. Because we caused it, Ambassador. We have been artificially accelerating our star's fusion processes for the past year and a half. The council chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Thaisara felt her skin shift to patterns of shock and disbelief. You deliberately destabilized your own sun? Correct, Captain Rodriguez confirmed. We triggered the process that will destroy our solar system in 33 hours, 47 minutes, and 12 seconds. But why? Thaisara's voice came out as barely a whisper. Why would any species commit such an act? Captain Rodriguez walked to the viewing port and stared out at the stars. Because someone was coming to destroy us anyway, Ambassador. We chose to control the terms of our own extinction. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Thaisara had dealt with desperate species before, refugees fleeing natural disasters or aggressive neighbors. But she had never encountered a people who would choose to destroy their own world as a defensive measure. Who was coming? She asked, dreading the answer. The mechanical-armed human activated another display. This one showed sensor readings that made no sense. Gravitational distortions on a massive scale, moving through space at impossible speeds. We call them the harvesters, he said. Ancient machines from the void between galaxies. They consume entire star systems, processing all matter and energy for purposes we cannot understand. Our analysis suggests they have been doing this for millions of years. Thaisara stared at the sensor data. If accurate, it showed something approaching, from beyond the galactic rim that dwarfed anything in known space. Why have we not detected them? The woman with the artificial eye laughed bitterly. Because they are still 18 months away at their current speed. Your long-range sensors are not designed to detect threats from intergalactic distances. We only found them because we were specifically looking for something that could threaten our entire species. And your solution is to destroy your own sun? Thaisara asked incredulously. Captain Rodriguez turned back to face her. Our solution is to turn our sun into a weapon, Ambassador. When properly directed, a stellar explosion can sterilize everything within several light years. We intend to detonate our star precisely as the Harvester fleet arrives, destroying them before they can begin their consumption of this galaxy. The plan was so audacious, so completely insane, that Thaisara could barely process it. The explosion will destroy everything in your solar system and much beyond it. Yes, Rodriguez agreed calmly. That is why we need temporary refuge for our people, and why we have been acquiring the technology necessary to build a delivery system that can survive the initial explosion long enough to guide the weapon to its target. Understanding dawned like a cold sunrise. The attacks on our shipping, the harvesting of materials, the strange vessel you have constructed, all necessary components for our Dreadnought, Rodriguez confirmed. A ship designed to carry the explosive force of a dying star directly into the heart of the Harvester fleet. It requires technology from multiple species because no single race has developed all the necessary capabilities. Thaisara sank into her chair, her diplomatic composure finally cracking. You are asking us to help you commit genocide on a galactic scale. 18 months earlier, Dr. Sarah Chen had been humanity's leading expert on gravitational wave detection. She spent her days listening to the subtle music of the universe, tracking the collisions of black holes and the death songs of neutron stars. Her laboratory on Earth's moon was equipped with the most sensitive instruments humanity had ever built. capable of detecting gravitational disturbances from across the galaxy. She had never expected to discover that humanity was about to be murdered. The anomaly first appeared in her data as a whisper, gravitational waves so faint that her equipment could barely detect them. For weeks, she dismissed the readings as background noise or equipment malfunction, but the signal grew stronger, following a pattern that made her blood run cold. Something massive was moving through the void between galaxies, heading directly toward the Milky Way. Not just massive, incomprehensibly huge, larger than anything that should be able to exist, and it was accelerating. Sarah ran the calculations a dozen times, hoping for an error that never came. Whatever was approaching would arrive in approximately 18 months. Based on its trajectory, it would enter the galaxy near humanity's solar system. Her first instinct was to contact the Galactic Council to warn the other species of the approaching threat. But when she examined the alien databases available through the galactic network, she made a disturbing discovery. The other species' sensor technology was not advanced enough to detect threats at such extreme ranges. To them, the harvesters would remain invisible until they were already in the galaxy. By then, it would be too late. Sarah called an emergency meeting of Earth's greatest minds. Scientists, military leaders, philosophers, and engineers gathered in a secure facility beneath the Sahara Desert. For 3 days, they analyzed Sarah's data and debated humanity's options. General Marcus Webb, head of Earth's Unified Military Command, spoke for many when he said, "If these things are as powerful as Dr. Chen suggests, conventional resistance is pointless. We need to evacuate as many people as possible and hope the other galactic species can mount an effective defense." But Dr. Yuki Tanaka, humanity's leading expert on stellar engineering, had a different idea. "What if we do not run from them?" she asked quietly. "What if we make them come to us on our terms?" The room fell silent. Sarah could see the idea forming in Yuki's mind before she spoke it aloud. "We turn our sun into a weapon," Yuki continued. "A controlled supernova, timed to detonate precisely when the harvesters arrive. The explosion would sterilize everything, within light years, including them." The proposal was met with stunned silence, then immediate protests. "You are talking about the destruction of our entire solar system," objected Dr. Elena Martinez, the lead psychologist on the committee. 8 billion people would die. 8 billion people are going to die anyway, General Webb pointed out grimly. "The question is whether their deaths serve a purpose." Dr. Raj Patel, humanity's foremost expert on artificial intelligence, ran rapid calculations on his quantum computer. The energy release from a stellar explosion would be equivalent to our entire industrial output for billions of years. If properly directed, it could indeed destroy something the size of the approaching fleet. "But how do you direct a supernova?" asked Sarah. Yuki smiled grimly. "You do not direct the explosion itself. You direct what carries it. Build a ship capable of surviving the initial blast and guiding the expanding wave front toward the target." The technical challenges were staggering. Creating a controlled stellar collapse required technology humanity had only theoretical knowledge of. Building a vessel that could survive a supernova meant combining materials and systems from multiple species. Most importantly, timing the detonation to intercept the harvester fleet required precision beyond anything they had ever attempted. "It is impossible," declared Dr. Patel after running the calculations. "We would need exotic matter for the ship's hull, zero-point energy systems for propulsion, and quantum-level timing mechanisms. Humanity possesses none of these technologies, but other species do," General Webb observed. "The ethereals have mastered exotic matter manipulation. The Zephyrians have zero-point energy. The depth swimmers have quantum computers." Dr. Martinez shook her head. "They will never give us such technology voluntarily. These are their most closely guarded secrets." "Then we will not ask for their permission," Webb replied coldly. The moral implications of what they were considering hung heavy in the air. To build their Dreadnought, humanity would need to steal from every spacefaring species in the galaxy. They would become pirates, terrorists, and thieves in the service of saving everyone. Sarah Chen found herself speaking words she never thought she would say. If we are going to do this, we need to start immediately. The stellar manipulation alone will take months to implement. The decision was not made formally. No vote was taken, no official declaration issued. Instead, humanity simply began to act. Secret facilities were constructed in the asteroid belt. Covert missions were launched to acquire alien technology. Earth's best engineers began designing a ship that violated every known law of physics. The most difficult part was not the technology, it was the secrecy. 8 billion people continued their daily lives while a small group of scientists and engineers worked to destroy their world. Schools remained open, children played in parks, lovers made plans for the future, all while the countdown to extinction ticked away in hidden laboratories. Dr. Yuki Tanaka led the stellar engineering project from a hidden station inside Mercury's orbit. Using mining lasers disguised as solar research equipment, her team began the delicate process of destabilizing the sun's core. Too fast, and the star would explode before they were ready. Too slow, and the harvesters would arrive first. The fusion rate is increasing according to schedule, she reported during one of their encrypted conferences. We have approximately 16 months before the cascade becomes irreversible. Meanwhile, Captain Elena Rodriguez, formerly of humanity's Deep Space Exploration Corps, was tasked with acquiring the alien technology they needed. Her ship, the Determination, was rebuilt with stealth systems and armed with humanity's most advanced weapons. Her crew consisted of volunteers who knew they would never see home again. Their first target was a Zephyrian research station studying zero-point energy fields. Rodriguez watched through the bridge viewports as her team carefully dismantled the facility, taking only what they needed while leaving the alien crew unharmed in their escape pods. "I feel like a pirate," muttered Lieutenant Commander James Park, her second-in-command. His mechanical arms, replacements lost in an accident years earlier, moved with inhuman precision as he operated the ship's controls. "We are worse than pirates," replied Commander Lisa Wong, whose cybernetic eye glowed as she analyzed the stolen technology. "Pirates take things for profit. We are taking them to destroy the galaxy." "To save the galaxy," Rodriguez corrected firmly. "Never forget that." But the guilt ate at them all. Every theft, every raid, every acquisition of alien technology felt like a betrayal of everything humanity claimed to believe in. They were violating galactic law, attacking innocent civilians, and stealing the life's work of alien scientists. Yet, they continued because the alternative was worse. The determination grew larger and stranger with each raid. Hull sections from destroyed ethereal ships were welded to armor plating, taken from depth swimmer submarines. Zephyrian weapon systems were integrated with luminal energy cores. What emerged was not so much a ship as a patchwork of technologies that should not have worked together. But somehow it did work. Each new addition made the vessel more powerful, more adaptable, more capable of surviving what was to come. The ship's AI, built from modified Zephyrian quantum computers, learned to optimize systems in ways their creators never imagined. The vessel is achieving efficiency ratings that exceed the original specifications of every component, reported Dr. Patel during one of their progress meetings. "It is as if the combination of different technologies creates emergent properties that none of the individual species achieved alone." As the months passed and the sun grew increasingly unstable, humanity's secret project attracted attention. Galactic Council investigators began asking questions about the missing research stations and stolen technology. Military patrols increased their searches for the mysterious raiders, but by then, it was too late to stop what had begun. The stellar cascade was accelerating beyond the point of no return. In less than 48 hours, humanity's sun would explode with the force of 10 billion hydrogen bombs detonating every second. The only question remaining was whether their impossible ship would be ready in time to carry that destruction to its intended target. Standing on the bridge of the Determination, as it put the finishing touches on their doomsday weapon, Captain Rodriguez looked out at the stars and wondered if they were heroes or villains. History would have to judge them, if there was anyone left to write that history. The countdown showed 36 hours remaining. Soon, the galaxy would learn what humanity was capable of when faced with extinction. And Elena Rodriguez hoped that when the final accounting was made, the cost would prove worthwhile. Commander Veltar stood in the emergency session of the Galactic Council, watching as centuries of careful diplomacy collapsed in a matter of hours. Representatives from 47 different species filled the great chamber, their voices raised in fear, anger, and desperate argument. Above them all, a massive display showed 2 countdowns: 31 hours until the human sun exploded, and 17 months until the harvesters arrived. The debate had raged for 6 hours already, with no resolution in sight. "This is madness," declared High Counselor Brassithera of the Luminals, his energy form pulsing with indignation. "We cannot allow one primitive species to hold the entire galaxy hostage with their suicidal scheme." Admiral Depthsong of the Oceanic Worlds bubbled his agreement through his water suit. "The humans have committed acts of piracy across 12 sectors. They have stolen our technology, attacked our ships, and now they threaten to destroy us all. We should stop them by force." But Elder Crystal Velthera of the Ethereals flickered with uncertainty. "And how do you propose we stop a stellar explosion that is already in progress? Our scientists confirm that their sun is indeed approaching. Critical instability. Even if we destroyed their ship, the supernova would still occur." Commander Veltar studied the tactical displays surrounding the council chamber. Every major fleet in the galaxy was moving toward the human solar system. But what could they accomplish? The humans had designed their plan to be unstoppable once initiated. The stellar cascade was beyond reversal, the Dreadnought was nearly complete, and the Harvester fleet continued its relentless approach. Dr. Klixnar, the galaxy's leading expert on stellar engineering, stepped forward to address the council. The elderly Zephyrian's wings were dulled with age, but her mind remained sharp. "Honored counselors, I have completed my analysis of the human stellar manipulation. Their technique is crude but effective. They have used focused gravitational fields to accelerate the star's fusion processes beyond the critical threshold. The explosion will occur in approximately 30 hours, regardless of any action we take. Then we evacuate the surrounding systems and contain the damage," suggested Counselor Fluxara of the Energy Beings. "Contain the damage from a weaponized supernova?" Dr. Klixnar asked incredulously. "The explosion will sterilize everything. Within 15 light-years. The radiation will make another 20 light-years uninhabitable for centuries. We are talking about the displacement of over 2 trillion beings across hundreds of worlds." The chamber fell silent as the enormity of humanity's gambit sank in. They had not simply threatened to destroy themselves. They had made the survival of multiple species dependent on the success of their insane plan. "There is another consideration," announced Ambassador Thaisara as she entered the chamber with her report from the diplomatic meeting. "I have spoken directly with the human leadership. They have provided detailed sensor data on the approaching Harvester fleet." A new display materialized above the council floor, showing gravitational readings that made several counselors gasp in shock. The approaching force was even larger than the humans had initially reported. Thousands of objects, each the size of a small moon, moving in perfect formation through the void between galaxies. "Our own long-range sensors cannot detect objects at such distances," admitted Chief Science Officer Velnara of the Depth Swimmers. "How did a primitive species like humanity develop such advanced detection capabilities?" Dr. Sarah Chen's image appeared on the communication screen, transmitted from her lunar laboratory. The human scientist looked exhausted, her eyes rimmed, with the dark circles of someone who had not slept in days. "Because we had to," she said simply. "When your survival depends on seeing threats from the maximum possible distance, you learn to build better eyes." "The human data appears accurate," confirmed Dr. Klixnar after reviewing the information. "These harvesters, if they exist, represent a threat beyond our current defensive capabilities. A single one of those objects could consume an entire star system." Counselor Brassithera flickered with frustrated energy. "Even if we accept that these harvesters are real, the human solution is still genocide. They are asking us to help them destroy their own species." "No," corrected Captain Rodriguez, whose image appeared beside Dr. Chen's. "We are asking you to help us save their species, and yours, and every other living thing in this galaxy. Commander Veltar leaned forward in his seat. Explain. Captain Rodriguez activated a holographic display that showed the human Dreadnought in its current configuration. The ship was massive, nearly the size of a space station, built from components stolen from dozens of different species. But it was not designed for conquest or survival. It was designed for one purpose only. The determination will carry our entire population database, genetic samples, cultural records, and technological knowledge, Rodriguez explained. 8 billion people reduced to information, stored in quantum memory cores that can survive a supernova. When we intercept the Harvester fleet, we will not just be carrying a weapon, we will be carrying the future of humanity. And if your ship fails? Asked Elder Crystal Velthara. Then humanity dies with honor, having struck back at the thing. That would have killed us anyway, Rodriguez replied without hesitation. But the explosion will still occur. The Harvesters will still face the full force of a weaponized star. Even if our guidance systems fail, the blast will damage their fleet. Dr. Chen added, we have calculated multiple scenarios. In the worst case where our ship is destroyed before reaching the target, the supernova will still delay the Harvester advance by several years. That gives you time to prepare defenses. And in the best case, Veltar asked, complete destruction of the Harvester fleet, sterilization of the local cluster to prevent future incursions, and the survival of humanity as digitized consciousness that can be rebuilt when safe worlds are found. The council chamber erupted in renewed debate. Some species called it the most heroic sacrifice in galactic history. Others denounced it as the actions of madmen who would drag everyone else into their destruction. But beneath the arguments, Veltar could sense a growing consensus. They were going to help the humans, not because they agreed with the plan, but because they had no choice. The stellar explosion would happen with or without galactic assistance. The Harvesters were coming whether they believed it or not. Humanity had made the choice for all of them. What do you need? Elder Crystal Velthara asked finally, her crystalline form dimming with acceptance. Captain Rodriguez straightened, and for the first time since the crisis began, she smiled. Quantum consciousness transfer technology from the luminals, temporal, stabilization fields from the ethereals, mass energy conversion systems from the depth swimmers, and manufacturing capacity from everyone else. We have 18 hours to complete a project that should take decades. The next 18 hours transform the galaxy in ways no one had imagined possible. Every major industrial facility and 47 systems retooled their production lines. The most advanced scientists from dozens of species worked together for the first time in galactic history. Ancient rivals shared their most closely guarded secrets in the name of survival. Commander Veltar found himself aboard the Determination during the final hours, watching as teams of mixed-species engineers performed miracles of improvisation. Zephyrian technicians worked alongside ethereal quantum physicists. Depth swimmer architects collaborated with luminal consciousness specialists. It should not work, muttered Chief Engineer Fluxara, as she watched incompatible technologies somehow function together. The power requirements alone should cause cascade failures throughout the ship. But it does work, observed Captain Rodriguez, standing beside her at the main engineering console. Because desperation makes us creative in ways that comfort never could. With 2 hours remaining, the evacuation of the human solar system began. Transport ships from a dozen species worked frantically to carry refugee populations to safety. Not physical evacuation, there was no time for that, but the digital preservation of human consciousness that would allow the species to survive even the death of their bodies. Dr. Elena Martinez, the psychologist who had initially opposed the plan, worked tirelessly to help people accept their transition from biological to digital existence. Think of it as sleep, she told families as they entered the consciousness transfer chambers. You will dream, and when you wake, you will be among the stars. Some refused the process, choosing to remain on Earth and face extinction with their homeworld. Others volunteered for the crew of the Determination, accepting certain death in exchange for the chance to guide humanity's weapon to its target. Captain Rodriguez was among the last to undergo the consciousness transfer process. As the quantum scanners mapped every neural pathway in her brain, she looked out at Earth through the ship's viewports. The blue marble that had given birth to humanity hung peaceful in space, unaware that in less than an hour, it would be vaporized, along with everything else in the solar system. "Any regrets, Captain?" asked Commander Wong, whose own consciousness had been transferred hours earlier and now existed as a pattern of light within the ship's quantum matrix. "Many," Rodriguez replied, honestly. "But not about this. Whatever else we